What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you. And one we were definitely looking forward to.
Yes.
So we're going to go over the latest offering from Catatonia with their newest album, Sky Void of Stars. This comes out on the 20th of January on Napalm Records, which is a new label for them. They've been on Peaceville Records for like the longest time. And I guess just decided to change labels and get some new scenery there.
Seemed to work out for them. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes a change of scenery does help. This band formed in 1991 in Stockholm, Sweden. This is their 12th album overall, and pretty much the only original members in here are some of the vocal members, Jonas Renks and Anders Nyström. They've been with the band since the very beginning, pretty much the founders of it. And this band has had like an interesting history. Their sound has changed multiple times over the course of their career. First two albums start off with them being one of the bands that helped establish the sound that is known as Death Doom, along with Paradise Lost and My Dying Bride and Anathema. They were the Swedish ones that actually did it. Then somewhere in there, they decided to shift to more melodic territory, and for a while tried to find a new sound. And then I would say probably around Viva Emptiness, everything just started to gel, and we have what Catatonia does now, which, God, it's kind of hard to describe, even though I'm so used to the sound.
Sure. Melodic, doom, prog, rock, metal?
Goth? Rock?
I mean, there's a bunch of things. Catatonia, if you've listened to them at least in the last decade, have kind of a uniform, just kind of rock
thing they do.
Something.
Honestly, it's just one of those bands you just say Catatonia, and most of the fans are like, wait, early Catatonia or later Catatonia? You're like,
because
well,
there's a difference.
There's a difference. But in terms of their current sound, it is an amalgamation of a lot of different styles coming together, and I've been a fan for a long time. I got into them with The Great Cold Distance.
So 2006?
2006 or 2005. It's one of the two when that one came out.
Yeah, I think it's 06.
And I ended up walking my way back, listening to their earlier stuff, and then getting every album that came out after that. And there's just a lot about their sound overall. Like, these guys are just solid songwriters, regardless of what style they're doing. And, well, I mean, I was very excited for this one. Granted, I wasn't the biggest fan of the last one. City Burials was still good, but it kind of left a lot to be desired, especially coming after The Fall of Hearts, which I think is one of their strongest albums.
Killer album. Yeah, City Burials I thought was, I mean, it was good. I mean, it's Catatonia. They don't really have a bad record. But, I mean, City Burials I thought was just kind of, meh.
Yeah. So, I mean, went into this one still excited because I'm a longtime fan of the band, but also maybe slightly apprehensive because the last one kind of, I felt like they left a lot on the table.
Yeah.
Granted, still decent, but it was like, man, I hope they're not just kind of petering out.
Right.
I really like this band.
Exactly, yeah. I hope they weren't fizzling either. Like, you know, after hearing that record, I wasn't real certain what was going to happen for the future of Catatonia. Just like, was that to fulfill a record contract, maybe?
Possibly.
But they didn't fizzle.
No.
They didn't fizzle at all.
When I heard the singles that came out for this album, namely Atrium and Birds, I was like, this sounds really good. Like, this sounds a little bit more, I don't know, like just put together, more focused.
Yep.
And going into this entire album, that is definitely the vibe on it. This feels very strong. Like, everything on here flows very well, and you kind of get like the best elements of their sound, I would say, from Viva Emptiness to right fucking now.
Yep.
And kicks off very strong with Austerity. In fact, a very heavy, dark, brooding, sort of energetic song. I mean, it's still gloomy as fuck. Like, it's depressing, but it's energetic about being depressing. So it's like a crying person on a treadmill. We've been there before. Just eating the cheeseburger, like, this is stupid.
It was my first gym experience. I wasn't eating a cheeseburger, but there was crying.
They wouldn't let you bring it. They made you leave it in the parking lot, didn't they?
You can't eat a cheeseburger on a treadmill. I mean, you can.
You can.
You definitely can.
Probably shouldn't.
At home, the gym kind of frowns on that. I don't know. I haven't been to the gym in a while. I'm working on my figure. I'm going to be more buoyant in the pool. Kicks in right away with Austerity, and it doesn't leave anything to the imagination. Right off the bat, it's just bam, starts into a riff. It is clean on the production. The vocals, when they initially come in, don't come in Jonas's normal range. They start like a little bit higher, which threw me off for a minute. I was like, is this a different lead singer? But it's not. But wow, just what a great song to start with. Lead work immediately.
Yeah.
In this song, and beautiful lead work at that.
Very different lead work. Like, you get a lot of like epic, like almost kind of classic heavy metal lead work all over here, especially on songs like Author, Impermanence, which I'm going to gush about that song later because it's amazing.
It is.
And the last track, No Beacon to Illuminate Our Fall. These songs, I don't know, I just feel like they push themselves in a way that still managed to retain everything about their sound that I like, at least this, again, current era of Catatonia. But at the same time, everything just resonates much better. Like, I think the choruses are stronger. I think, honestly, some of the best choruses they've written have been on this album.
I think some of Jonas's best vocal performance ever. And that's a bold statement.
It is.
Because his cleans are some of my favorite cleans in metal, hands down.
Yeah.
But he really pushes himself here. I think it's some of his best vocal work ever.
And Catatonia has like an interesting thing where, in terms of like the meter of a song, a lot of it, like I feel like the drummer kind of follows Jonas's like very interesting vocal patterns, because his cadences are, not necessarily very straightforward. Like, he puts accents on different things. There's, how he extends one word more, and it kind of flutters. And that's just like his style. Like, he just, has this interesting meter that I think the drummer tends to follow. But this one, I feel like he's more centered in. Like, the songs flow really well, and he pushes himself in terms of his range. There's songs in here where he sings in a little bit higher register, like the song Author. He's up a little bit higher than he usually is, because usually it's this very breathy, very emotive, sort of fluttering, vocal style. But there are ones on here where he just projects very powerfully, and especially, again, on choruses, like Impermanence. I'm going to keep coming back to that song. That has the arena rocker chorus that should be, them playing to fucking tens of thousands in like Madison Square Garden, but for some odd reason they kind of remain like this sort of niche band that they should be huge. But my God, that song and that chorus.
Oh, Impermanence?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. I don't want to say it's the best song on the record, because I'm going to be honest, I liked all the songs.
Yep.
But Impermanence is very, very powerful. Not only lyrically, but it's got this beautiful kind of sad, groovy pattern to it the whole time. That song's tits on a boar.
And the songwriting, I think, is absolutely fantastic in here. What they do, I mean, again, they're not doing anything like super out of the ordinary for Catatonia, again, in this current phase, but I think they're just doing it with more power behind it. Even the softer, more melancholy sections where the guitars drop out, because there's a lot of sections where the guitars are not, driving the song. It's, sometimes just synths and maybe some strings in the background.
Like
and,
birds.
Eunice's vocals. Yep. But the softer moments don't squander momentum. They keep driving the song forward, and generally they'll build to, like, big sort of rocker choruses. Yep. Like the second song, Colossal Shade, is kind of like an 80s rocker. That one and Atrium, they both have like sort of like an 80s rocker vibe, except mixed with like goth rock. So, take a band like Def Leppard and mix them with Sisters of Mercy, and somewhere in there you kind of get Catatonia, at least of those two songs. But that urgency, that sort of power that drives the song, the riffs are exceptionally like, heavier, a little bit more energetic. Again, not skimping on any of the melancholy, because that is what fuels Catatonia. Like, there's nothing bright and shiny in Catatonia's world. Everything's rainy and dark and shitty.
Right? You're just like, yeah.
Yeah. But they
Kinda
write
like
great
today.
songs. Yeah. Yeah. Today it was just rainy and shitty and actually kind of stormy. Weird January weather.
Songs like Drab Moon, Sclera, and No Beacon to Illuminate Our Fall all touch on, again, some of like the more somber moments of Catatonia, mixed in with proggy elements.
Yeah.
Which this band has always been a little bit kind of known for, especially kind of dragging on the heels of Opeth, which they were known to do for a while. Again, how we talked about like when the guitars fall out, they use keys and strings and an organ, and very prog, especially No Beacon to Illuminate Our Fall. Oh. That one towards the end of it just had a straight like prog jam.
That one, in terms of like the songwriting, I think is definitely like the proggiest song. It's also one of the heaviest songs. Like, it's very dark, and like the transitions are abrupt, but they flow really well. Like, you get into these sort of like robotic syncopated vocals and guitar lines with accented drums. It's almost kind of Tool-ish, but it gets into like this heavy sort of like almost doom riff that comes after it. And I just love how the song flows. Like it's, you know, very constant, especially in terms of like the vocals, but it's the music that shifts underneath it. It's, I don't know, a very evocative, like you're just kind of drawn in. Like it's almost like a story, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really follow the lyrics because I was so hypnotized by all the songwriting and just kick-ass fucking riffs on it. But it's just the way that song flows. And Drab Moon, especially, how it builds up like a dirge. Like it's almost like kind of ballady, but then it gets into these big heavier parts. And I like that it kind of builds almost like a post-metal song.
Well, it's got kind of the, especially Drab Moon has kind of the familiar feel of Catatonia. Like I was thinking like Great Cold Distance, Night is the New Day. It just kind of sounded like that. You're like, oh, here we go. This is Catatonia. It doesn't hang on to that typical emotive that Catatonia is, where it'll stay at one tempo or kind of slow and kind of dreary. In this case, it didn't hang on to that feeling for too long. Every song is exploratory.
Yeah.
Like there's a little piece of something new, or a piece of something, I don't want to say flashy because it's not flashy, but a piece of something more entertaining throughout each song to kind of have you catch on to it. Because even the hooks aren't the same.
No, honestly, I would say like the hooks, I don't know, they feel more, again, like urgent. Like they really want to make sure that this particular chorus or this particular verse really just sticks with you. Sometimes, you know, Jonas's vocal patterns can tend to flutter off and get a little lost in all the ambience. And, you know, you kind of lose it. Granted, he's doing a great job because, I mean, I love him as a fucking vocalist. He's fucking awesome. But sometimes you kind of lose it and it becomes hard to follow. These feel more direct. And occasionally you would get that sort of vibe on the choruses too earlier, where like the choruses feel like they're a little long and they kind of just hang there. These are urgent. Like I would say like maybe the longest chorus in here was an atrium, but it's still really good.
Well, sometimes I felt in like earlier Catatonia too, where the chorus was the main focal point of the song and the verses didn't have, I mean, they were there, but the way that he would formerly perform a verse would be almost in the same kind of like melodic range too. It just, you could tell it would go high, low, high, low. In this case, more shines to the vocals than just the chorus. Like there's more focal points.
Another thing I think that surfaces on here, and it's definitely been a part of their sound before, but I think, I don't know, it's used even more effectively, is 80s pop. 80s pop, and namely Depeche Mode. Like if Depeche Mode were a heavy metal band, they would be called Katatonia.
That's fair.
On songs like Opaline and Scalera, like the 80s vibe, like the big synths, the sort of like dreary but poppy sort of hooks on them. Maybe some canned drums in there. They just scream 80s pop. Again, like Depeche Mode, maybe a little bit of Duran Duran.
Phil Collins,
because there's that little
there's
fucking
that
drum
little
section.
fucking like doo-doo, and you're like, oh!
Man, but again, they know how to deliver those hooks as well. Like they have good pop hooks. And that isn't to say like, you know, this is just like a pop metal album. It's accessible, but it's accessible with great musicianship. Like this isn't just like watered down for the sake of accessibility. I don't think Catatonia's ever really done that. They know how to be accessible while writing very clever songs and unique hooks and riffs. They have this sort of like interesting place that they occupy in terms of metal or heavy music in general, where they are accessible, but I think that willingness to keep experimenting maybe keeps them out of like the more popular circles. I don't know. This band, I've always thought, should be bigger just because they know how to write those hooks that just stay with you.
Well, and it's surprising that they're not bigger. I think a lot of what some metal bands are trying to do to get popular, this band already does, and have been doing it for a while. And it seems like this is something that, you know, even people that aren't fans of this genre necessarily could latch onto, because the vocals are just so goddamn beautiful.
Yeah.
And the music itself isn't abrasive at all. It's very listenable. Yeah, it baffles me why Catatonia is not bigger than they are.
Even at its heaviest moments, where I would say like occasionally it gets like kind of genty, like kind of prog metal heaviness. Like, I mean, you get some Opeth comparisons in there too.
Sure.
It's still not to the point where I would say anything on here is too abrasive for like a person that, you know, gets into bands like Alice in Chains or something like that.
Sure.
Like Alice in Chains, kind of the same dark and dreary mood, except, you know, Catatonia like heroin less. But this whole album, I thought, flowed exceptionally well. Even the bonus track Absconder, which is only on the media book version, which, believe me, that's the version I'm going to order because the song was also really cool. And there's some really interesting songwriting on there where it teases heavier sections in the verse. Like the verses are generally very soft, and then you hear like a tribal section coming with heavy chugs.
Yeah, it's weird because it's in
off.
like the middle of the verse. It's not at the end, and it's nothing to like tie into a different part because after this little palm mute chug drum thingy, it goes right back to where it was. But they used it to kind of break up the monotony of the verse maybe a little bit.
And tease that they're going to get heavier, which, you know, the chorus is decidedly heavier and like kind of has like a big rocker vibe. Yep. As far as any negatives on this album, I'm kind of hard pressed to find them, so I really had to nitpick. Like, I love the production. I think, again, this is Jonas's best vocal performance. The songs are absolutely infectious, but I think there was maybe one song, and it was Atrium, where I think that one kind of felt like it was going to be like the big 80s rocker too, and I think the synths kind of overpowered the verses.
Yep, there was a lot of atmosphere, and it was more upbeat, but pretty like straightforward. There wasn't a whole lot of anything really special going on in that song.
Great chorus on it. I mean, it's a solid song. I just had more issue with like the ambient sort of overpowering the guitars. Only on the verses, like the chorus I thought was fine. In fact, I think the chorus is fucking beautiful. But like on every other moment on here where it involved like interplay between the synths and the guitars, they do it so well. They play off of each other really well. Like the melodies complement each other, and at no point did they feel like they collide. This one, they kind of felt like they collided, but that was literally it. Like that was, and it's just a minor nitpick, and honestly, I would go back and jam Atrium again because it was a good song anyway. So, yeah, no, this is a fucking great album, and I'm going to go ahead and give it 4.5 stars. I was not anticipating it being this high because I think I only gave City Burials the 3. Yeah. And, you know, the last album is generally kind of where I leave off. Like, all right, we're on to the next album. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
You know, the flavor from the last one's kind of, you know, still there. But this blew me away. Like, my expectations were surpassed within 4 tracks. It was like, man, this is honestly some of the catchiest stuff they've written. It feels urgent. It has all the, you know, tropes that I love about Catatonia, and I just feel like they trimmed off, like, just the fat and left nothing but the meat on here. Despite this being like a 50-minute album with the bonus tracks, like nothing feels like it hangs out too long. The songs are well-paced. The songs flow into one another really well. This is just like some of their best songwriting in terms of like this era of Catatonia. This is just a fantastic album. If you're a fan of especially like Night is a New Day and Fall of Hearts, like this is almost sort of that middle point between those two albums. Yeah. Absolutely amazing album. Bravo, Catatonia. This is hopefully the start of a whole new fucking era here, and yeah, go out and get this. It's fucking amazing.
I don't have much to actually piggyback off of what Nick said. It's a fantastic album. 3 or 4 songs in, I was already sitting at a 4.5 because it was already some of the best stuff I ever heard. The songs are way more entertaining than what I find Catatonia to normally be, and that's not a dig because I'm a giant Catatonia fan. But I mean, the lead work in here, which is something I don't say much on a Catatonia record, the lead work is tits. The riff work, and there is some. It's not the normal like drone melody thing you got going on. Like there's some actually crunchy riffs. The vocal work is through the fucking roof. Impermanence I'm gonna probably listen to every day for the rest of this year.
Love that
to be
song.
honest. Definitely am gonna go back and jam this record a bunch. And man, if you're a Catatonia fan, holy shit, you're gonna love this record. And even if you're not a Catatonia fan, I might check this out because there's so many good things on here that I didn't expect. Much like Nick, I didn't know where we were headed. I knew I would probably like it because it's Catatonia and I'm a fan. I've been a fan for many years. But this was definitely a good surprise, and so much groove going on. The drum work is entertaining. Everything about all these songs is really neat, and you never really know where they're gonna go. And every time it turns a corner, it's something new and entertaining. Bravo. Very great job, Catatonia. I'm very fucking impressed. Like Nick said, go out and buy the record. I'm gonna pre-order it tonight.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
Or buy it tomorrow morning if I can fucking find it.
I'm getting the media book version. I want all the songs.
Well, yeah, I want Absconder too. That song is fucking neat. So, yeah, 4.5 for me. I mean, great start to this year.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We're also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our store is there. We do need to restock on things, but we will. But our Patreon link is down there, so if you'd like to help us out, just click the link.
Also, if you've been paying attention, Denver Death Fest, we just announced the first wave of bands. Actually, every Monday now from here on out, at least for the next 5 weeks, we're going to be naming off another 5 bands or 6 bands or something like that. I don't remember what the math is. But anyway, yeah, for the next at least month here, weekly, we're going to be announcing Denver Death Fest bands. I'm really fucking excited. It's been a crazy, great adventure, and I know that we're only scraping the surface. Once again in Denver, Colorado, April 20th through the 22nd of 2023, 30 bands. We've got sponsors now: Dead Records, Prior Custom Cabs, Doom and Groom, of course, Thralls of Metal and Swinging News Productions at the helm. But yeah, it's going to be really fucking cool. I'm really stoked. There's some awesome things finally coming. Thank you for those that have stuck around and hung in with us as we fought through the pitfalls and perils of booking a metal festival. I didn't know, but I know now. Anyway, Denver Death Fest is coming. Fuck yeah.
We're going to have a dunk tank there. We're going to put Jammin John in it. We're going to fill it with piranha.
We're going to have actually none of that. If anything, we'll...
It's only $1 for a ticket.
If anything, we'll push a very intoxicated Necrotic Nick out on stage.
The target is huge.
Let him talk to people. That's going to be great. I can't wait for that.
And of course, thank you all so much for liking, subscribing, following. It's amazing to see this channel grow. I mean, again, this surpassed expectations a long time ago.
Yeah, for sure.
And it only just continues to blow my mind that we're doing this, and it's absolutely amazing. So thank you all for that. It's just amazing doing this.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I grow to appreciate Thralls of Metal more and more all the time as it goes from a small channel to a living, breathing entity. We are so excited and thankful to be not only continuing these videos, but to be talking to people, and we've got some cool new content coming and some interviews, and I'm not going to name any names, but it's about to get really fucking sweet. So, yeah, thank you all, and we will catch you later.